Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday, January 30th in the United States of America. It's What Chaos. I'm DJ Bean, a.k.a. the Zamboni entrance. We got Pete Blackburn, a.k.a. Captain Punch, and Sean DePaz, a.k.a. Cray J. Paterka. Hey, boys.
Nice.
Cray J. Paterka
Nice.
is what I'm calling JJ Paterka from now on.
I think I'm going to do different nicknames for every show. I was going to call you, I initially had Ray J. Paterka.
That's a little suggestive.
Ray J. Paterka. I mean, I wouldn't.
So how suggestive?
I mean,
Because
Ray J's known for
one of
thing.
the world's most famous sex tapes.
So that's why I stayed away from that. I was
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
people could just like draw connections to.
I mean,
like,
any connections they're drawing about me, I don't think I would actually complain about. So
It could have
You can call
also
me
like
Ray J.
it could have
Paterka.
been sex tape thing. People could have said it was racist accidentally.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess
just
that.
being like why can't he just be JJ Paterka?
What? Yeah.
Which none
Ray
of us
J.
can be.
Paterka though hits kind of hard.
What does
Ray J. Paterka hits pretty hard?
Ray J. Paterka?
I'm gonna start calling JJ Paterka Ray J.
Yeah,
Paterka
right.
for the way he's fucking on opponents.
the way.
Oh,
I thought you were gonna
nice.
say though
Nice.
the way you go ham on
The way
videos of him.
the way that he's submitting that
the
tape.
way I've watched tape of him about 1 million times.
That's
We got
incredible.
there. Call him Ray J. Paterka because I can't stop watching his tape.
Hell yes. That's the best start to a show we've ever had.
Fantastic.
I do like the idea of having an endless stable of nicknames. Not necessarily every show, but you know how when you go to hockeyreference.com, it'll be like nicknames, and it's just a bunch of shit that you have never heard a player called before. Having that for like our What Chaos page, and it's just an entire scroll's worth of nicknames that just were mentioned once.
Where could there be a thing that makes it look like hockey reference for us? Because that would be very funny if it was like Pete Blackburn, aka, or like nicknames.
The Marchenko
The
agenda.
Marchenko agenda, the agenda, Captain Punch,
Paul Hollywood.
young bitch, like stuff like that. So far, Sean has the best nicknames because Cray J. Paterka led to the best and most enlightened conversation we've had on this show. I already have Sean's nickname for tomorrow, but I don't have mine or yours.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a fun thing every day.
It's gonna be tough to top Ray J. Paterka.
It'll also be fun to do that at the beginning of
interviews.
interviews.
Yes.
If we were just like, hey, everybody, DJ, aka the limo driver, Pete, blah, blah, and like Nathan McKinnon, aka like whatever.
The Pan Man.
AKA,
Like,
you're right.
he's in
AKA
what?
The regulator.
the frozen pizza party.
Assigning a nickname at the beginning of an interview to a player that they've never heard before would be a great experiment.
I mean, we usually set the tone with some pretty clever questions, but that's another way to do it.
Yep.
Just give them a nickname. Be like, do the Obama thing. Remember when the Bruins were at the White House and Obama was like, and Brad Marchand, they call him the little ball of hate. What's up with that nickname, man? And everybody was like, I never fucking heard him call that. And then his nickname became the little ball of hate because they were like, Obama said that was your nickname. And we couldn't tell, like, did Obama give him that nickname? Or?
I think that if the president calls you something and says your nickname is something, you kind of have to go with it.
That's an executive order.
Well, I was gonna say there's Trump was calling a lot of people a lot of nicknames.
Yeah, that was Trump's like favorite power of his, that he could just assign nicknames.
So every player we sit down with will be like, AKA that son of a bitch, and be like, Trump called you that. Sorry.
That's right.
Do you remember Donald Trump? I don't know if he was
I do
president
remember
yet.
him, yeah.
I don't know if he was president yet, but he said, if I were the owner of a team and they were kneeling during the national anthem, I would say, get that son of a bitch off the field.
Yeah, I do remember that.
He either said that and remained president, or he said that and became president.
He said a lot of things and remained.
And then became president.
Yeah, and remained. So
Boy, oh boy.
not all that crazy to think about.
Well, that's politics talk. We've got just 2 more days before the All-Star break, boys. Isn't that crazy?
I know we're hitting like the lull here. This is the first time that I feel like we've experienced the lull of the show in terms of actual on ice product, because last night we had one game.
Watched it.
I did watch it, and honestly, shout out to the Senators coming back from a 3-0 deficit. I know it was against the Predators, who haven't been amazing in their own right, but the Sens are bad vibes all the time, basically, it seems like, except when Anlauer gets behind a microphone. So seeing them go down 3-0 as the lone national game or the lone NHL game on TV last night, like, I was like, oh, man, the Senators are chunking it. And then they bounced back, and what a nice little comeback. And then Claude Giroux with the game winner in OT.
So every time Claude Giroux does anything, I'm always like, yeah, Claude Giroux's still in the NHL. You fuckers, don't forget it. And he's on the Senators. Yeah, and then I like write on my hand like Claude Giroux is still in the NHL on the Senators. Very good player. Once he went to Florida at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
When he goes Philly, Florida, Senators in a kind of, I don't know. This is going to be a pro Senators podcast once they get some guys that we care about. But other than their owner, I don't have too many big Claude Giroux moments. So it was nice to have one last night.
I feel the same way about Claude Giroux in the sense that, like, even when he was on the Flyers and even when he was really good and kind of in the midst of that, like, Giroux versus Crosby rivalry, I never found him all that interesting, like, outside of his game. Because I respect his game. He's a really good player, but he's just like a very uninteresting superstar.
I mean, didn't he bitch out a reporter? That was a big thing. I think he had like a real, like, pre-torts, real
Maybe.
Philly. I'm going to look this up because he was like, I want to say, and maybe this will be wrong once I learn about it. If I remember correctly, he was like an asshole.
No,
to,
okay.
let's see.
Respect.
Claude Giroux reporter. Let's find this out.
I do have to say, Giroux looks awesome in the Senators uniform. Like,
he does.
He looks so good.
He is low-key one of the coolest looking hockey players.
I took notice of this last night. I love that he wears it's essentially like a turtleneck.
The turtleneck, yeah.
And it's like
Tage and
it
Skinner,
matches
yeah.
the jersey.
And it looks
like
so good on him.
Looks so good.
With the beard and everything.
An under talked about part of the neck protector discourse is that a lot of hockey dudes look cool as fuck wearing those neck protectors.
I agree. Like I said, Tage and Jeff Skinner both wear turtlenecks, and I think it looks cool as shit. But specifically Giroux in the all black,
it's very swaggy,
and the beard, and it was a very good look. Yeah,
yeah, I agree.
Listen, guys.
Yes, he did grab a cop's ass once. I forgot about that.
Did that. We are nothing if not accountable. I'd like to issue an apology from Sean, Pete, even myself. Earlier on this podcast, it was said Claude Giroux bitched out a reporter. I knew it. It was Jakub Voracek.
Yeah, I did know that one.
I knew that one.
In your defense,
it was said on this podcast, though, earlier that it was Claude Giroux, and we don't stand for that.
In your defense, that era of Flyers players all look the same. They're all guys that are just gingers with beards and like look like they kind of like woke up as some form of Yukon Cornelius.
The Flyers were in a bit. They just accumulated players who kind of looked like the Flyers jerseys,
like Gritty. Gritty was shaped after a bunch of Flyers players. Like he's a composite Flyer character. Yeah. So
that's way more Claude Giroux talk than I thought we were getting. Way more talk out of last night's game. Was the only game?
The only
game.
That
I thought that we were getting. But I didn't watch it. Had it on mute. Was getting a little work done. Did see the overtime winner. It was a nice time. Go Senators. We'd like for you to be good at some point.
Sometimes I do like those nights when there's like one or two games on and you know that everybody's watching the same game at the same time. It's like essentially like Monday Night Football. You're all having a shared experience, but it doesn't hit quite the same when you know that like 28 teams are on vacation.
I wish they did more of one game in one night, but they made it. I mean, obviously it ended up being a good game, but between more interesting teams, so the whole country or the whole North America was locked in on one. Actually, I kind of like that it's irrelevant teams, quote unquote irrelevant.
Right,
teams.
like give them some shine.
Yeah, because like no one knows.
Like you're gonna watch the good teams no matter what.
Yeah,
but
like
who's gonna go out of their way to watch the Senators?
You should put the Jets in situations like this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, yeah, fair. Yeah.
Tell you what, though, the Predators are Predators kind of stumbling.
I know. Were they broken by the Edmonton Oilers?
Possibly. They were kind of broken before.
Yeah,
I mean, they'd beaten Minnesota in the previous game. Good road win. But they've lost 4 of 5, including in Ottawa in overtime. I mean, in fairness, nobody was beating the Oilers on Saturday. The Oilers weren't incredible, but they just weren't fucking losing that game. So I don't put that one on the Predators. But yeah, in a not super interesting division, they're now 4th. And you're going to see probably teams from the Pacific gum up the wild card race, right?
I mean, I think the Central's pretty interesting in the sense that like you've got those top 3 teams are all really good.
Yeah.
Like you've got Colorado, you've got Winnipeg, you've got Dallas. Like all of those teams kind of kick ass. Also, it's rather confusing to me that Winnipeg is in the Central. They scream like Pacific.
Do you think that anybody in the United States that is not a hockey fan knows where Winnipeg is?
I don't know where Winnipeg is.
Because I am a devout hockey fan, former hockey reporter, and I don't know where Winnipeg is.
I am a devout geography guy, and I could tell you that it's somewhere between Vancouver and Toronto, and that's about it.
Yo, so I don't even get that, right? Like, I envision Winnipeg like above Toronto and maybe just a little bit east when it isn't.
To me, Winnipeg is like directly north of Minnesota. I don't know if that's accurate. I just feel like it's somewhere central.
Can somebody in the chat give us
Can you pull up a map of Winnipeg, Sean? Thank you very much. I was going to do it myself, but
people talk so poorly of Winnipeg and like it being off the grid, off the map. I really kind of envision Winnipeg being like right next to Alaska.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. What?
Like that's the picture that's painted in my mind of Winnipeg.
It does not help location. Didn't Seth Jarvis just say with us that like it doesn't have Wi-Fi?
Here we go.
Right. That's the big.
Winnipeg is directly north of Minnesota. Yeah, directly north of Minnesota,
okay,
North Dakota.
So it is.
Huge geography guy. I know what I'm talking about. People in the chat or Aviva saying Manitoba, like that helps at all.
Yeah.
Again, I know where Ontario is. I know where British Columbia is, and everything else is somewhere in between. Even though that's not even true. I know
give me the United States.
Give me Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Nova Scotia. Is that up here? I don't know. Like you can't just tell me. Give me. Oh, over here.
Nova Scotia is like an attached to New England
Maine
thing, right?
Oh my God, I didn't know Canada. Yeah, okay.
Definitely didn't know Nova Scotia was there.
Really?
Fun
I
fact,
did know that one.
I know that like 80% of where the mouse is right here, like 80% of Canada's population lives south of this right here.
So I knew the Nova Scotia thing because there are like New England cruises that take you to Nova Scotia, and it's like a day-long thing.
That's crazy.
You want to do me one more favor, Sean?
Yeah.
Give me Prince Edward Island. Where's PEI?
That's right there.
Is that?
Oh, that's right over there too.
That's Nova Scotia, basically.
Is that an Epstein thing?
No.
Close.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
That's a little
you don't know.
St. James, right?
Yeah, but Prince Edward Island is directly north of Nova Scotia.
Okay.
So it's just there with New Brunswick.
Listen, honestly, if you get further east than Montreal, I stop caring.
Further west?
No, further east.
Oh,
like New Brunswick,
yeah.
Nova Scotia, PEI, Newfoundland and Labrador, dogs.
So maybe unfair, but that's kind of how my brain thinks. I think that Quebec kind of starts Canada, and then you move west.
Yeah, like I may have mentioned this to you before. I don't think I've ever said it on there. Like one of my dreams is to take a train ride from like basically coast to coast of Canada. And whenever I say coast to coast, I basically mean from Montreal to Vancouver. Halifax, no thank you.
No Halifax?
I mean, I'm sure it's beautiful, but like I wouldn't know.
Friend of the show, Brad Marchand, is from Halifax. People forget that. Yeah. It's Nova Scotia. That's just, it's going to be a little east of your Quebecs and your New Brunswicks.
If you want to start talking about like Toronto suburbs, Southern Ontario, then you're in my Canadian geography wheelhouse.
So you're like a London boy.
Oh yeah, London. St. Catharines is like one of my best friends growing up. His mom lived in St. Catharines, so I spent like every weekend in St. Catharines.
Chat right now is just basically throwing out parts of Canada.
Somebody
Where is
Sudbury?
this?
Sudbury, I think he's Toronto burb, right?
It's in Massachusetts.
Sudbury in Lincoln.
It's right next to Lincoln.
Yeah, Sudbury is right here. It's just northeast of Michigan.
Do you know the name of Sudbury's OHL team?
The Sudbury Wolves.
Sudbury Wolves.
Okay.
Or there's the Sudbury Blueberry Bulldogs from Shoresy.
Did you say the Blueberry Bulldogs?
Yes.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
I got to tap into this Shoresy show.
You
Every
know.
time I see my friend Rich, I go to Celtics games with him, hang out, do friend stuff. He's like, you got to be watching Letterkenny. He's like, if Sean's watching it, you should trust Sean's taste enough by now. Why aren't you jumping in?
It's very good. Also, if you're listening to this on audio, come subscribe and watch
Yeah,
it on
right.
YouTube.
Join the
Because
YouTube.
you
This is
a
have
big YouTube
to
episode.
be lost
Watch
right
us
now.
look at maps and
Yeah.
figure out where things are.
Imagine not knowing where Sudbury was, and then you have guys on an audio podcast being like, "Look at this picture. Here's where Sudbury is."
What do you say, boys? Do we take our hand off the proverbial ass and start talking a little X's and O's hockey? Who's skating fast? Who's got lead in their legs? Who's out there flat-footed? Let's talk about Elias Lindholm and his trade market, because yesterday there was a good Athletic piece from Julian McKenzie, and somebody else from
Corey
the Athletic.
Proman.
Who?
Corey Proman.
Corey Proman.
Yep.
Two heavy hitters, actually.
That's right.
People forget that. About his market, what are some hypothetical trade proposals? Pete and I both agree that we don't know the prospects well enough that we could have a huge reaction to any of these packages. But if you tell me, all right, Vancouver would have to give up their top forward prospect, whatever, plus picks and everything, we can wrap our heads around that and we can break it down.
Yeah, like I'm a vibes guy. I'm a vibes breakdown kind of guy. I look at a trade and I say, the vibes of this one are kind of off.
Mainly what interested me about this, and let's run through Elias Lindholm anyway. He's in the final year of his contract with the Flames. He's 29. He is having, I think, what we could all call a down year. He's got 32 points in 49 games, but this is a one-time 40-goal scorer. And
He was hanging around like 80 points the previous 2 years.
yeah, actually, I might be right. Has he scored? He might be a multiple-time 40-goal scorer.
He is not.
I need to check there. I think he's a one-time.
He's a one-time 40-goal scorer.
40-goal scorer. But he's a really good two-way center who can be a first-line center on a good team, a second-line center on a great team.
Mm-hmm.
One of those types.
Like a David Krejci type.
One of those types.
Yeah.
And that's why Boston is one of the teams that you'd say should be on the list of clubs vying for his services. The Athletic put out trade proposals for the Bruins, the Avalanche, the Canucks, Stars, Golden Knights, and Jets. Before we get into what these packages would be, I think that there's three teams that would become favorites by acquiring him. Avalanche, Vegas, Boston. I think that he puts all three of those teams into they're now the team to beat in their conference. And I think especially for an Eastern Conference team like Boston, there is no team to beat right now. So
I will throw another team into that mix that is not included in the trade proposals that I would be interested in seeing him is in terms of fit. The New York Rangers would be quite interesting to me, and I think that he could help them. But obviously, I'm no insider. I don't know how realistic that is.
Okay. The proposal for the Bruins is the one that maybe got this story its most engagement because it was a pretty robust package. A first-round pick in 2025. The Bruins don't have their first-round pick in 2024. That was sent to Detroit for Tyler Bertuzzi. 19-year-old center Matty Poitras, who is a rookie this year, and young veteran left wing potential center Trent Frederick. That is a big package. I saw it met with a lot of barfing emojis, a lot of the Athletic should drug test type of stuff. I'll tell you what, if you're going to sign Elias Lindholm, it's maybe a bit of an overpay, but that's like you want to make sure you get the player, you go out, you get him early. I don't think that's a crazy proposal. I wouldn't do it if I'm Boston, but I don't think it's like crazy. It should have gotten that reaction.
It's not bananas. No, like I think like the like you mentioned, the big part of it is, are you going to sign him? Are you going to sign the player? Because obviously, I think if you make any of these trades really without signing them it's a lot. But I just think that you look at a guy like Bo Horvat and what he got last year. I think it's a fair comparable to like kind of the deals that we're seeing here. And then the Isles went and extended him, and then you end up keeping a really good player for several years, and he becomes a really important part of your mix. So, like, do I like Matty Poitras? Yes, absolutely. Do I really, really like Trent Frederick and the player that he's become specifically this year? Absolutely. I love Trent Frederick. Do I think that this trade is insane or like, oh, you gotta get fired, you gotta get suspended without pay for a week for throwing out? No,
That'd be
like,
hilarious if they were just like, shit story, bruv.
yeah, like no, that none of this is like banana land.
Horvat, by the way, was traded for 2 players and a first-round pick.
Correct.
So, like,
a prospect, a NHL like middle 6 player like a Trent Frederick. Yes, like that's the framework of the deal, I think, that these guys used for an Elias Lindholm deal. Okay. It's like a first-round pick, a prospect, and an NHL-ready player.
Okay, I'm pulling up Trent Frederick's shooting percentage right now because he has 14 goals in 49 games, is on pace for obviously like a high 20s goal season. And I can assure you, nobody at any point thought that Trent Frederick was going to push for 30 goals, was going to be a 25-goal scorer. The Bruins said famously when they drafted him, we think he can be a good third-line player. Mm-hmm. And people lost their minds because the Bruins drafted him with the Sharks' first-round pick acquired in the Martin Jones trade. So even when the Bruins spent a first-round pick on this player, they were like, we think he can be like an okay guy who's like mostly in the NHL. That's pretty cool. He doesn't rack up assists. He's never had more than 31 points in a season. He's having a career year with by far a career best shooting percentage. So maybe in future years, he's not going to be pushing for 25, 30 goals, but he's become a better NHL player than I think anybody expected. He's still just 25 years old. You're eventually going to have to pay him some real money, which I'm sure factors into would the Bruins think about moving him. In short, if I'm Boston, I think I do Poitras in a first-round pick for Lindholm, knowing that he's in a down year and
if you're taking Frederick out of that, absolutely, 1,000%, I do that trade.
Yeah,
1,000%. Love Matty Poitras, but like, I don't know if he fits what this team needs in this window right now.
Let me ask you. I'm a beach boy.
Yeah,
I'm an oil man. I'm a lot of things. Do you throw Johnny Beecher? Would you do first-round pick, Poitras, Johnny Beecher?
Would.
All right, so I think the Bruins, before we talk about other teams, should the Bruins, without a first-round pick this year, knowing that a weird offseason probably awaits them, with Swayman having to get paid, Ullmark going into the last year of his deal, a lot of guys getting a year older, should they be pushing all their chips in again, trading away young players and first-round picks to get a top 6 center? Because my answer, honestly, is yeah. Why the fuck not?
I think that there's like a couple routes they can go. If they don't want to be super aggressive, like they can go after a guy like Adam Henrique, who's probably going to be a little bit less of a price to pay than Elias Lindholm. And I think Adam Henrique would make a lot of sense for the Bruins in terms of who he is as a player, his skill set, his flexibility, that he can play on the left side and play down the middle. I think like from everything that I've heard, he's a really strong leader, good guy to have in the room. I think that he would be a good fit for the Bruins. And I think it's more likely they go after a guy like that than try to make a massive splash and kind of rock the boat with Lindholm.
Yeah, I like that move as well because it's probably costing him like a third, second-round pick, something like that. Not having to go too crazy. Colorado has always seemed like the team.
That seems like
he's just gonna be
100%
on the Avalanche.
Yeah,
and they're gonna go McKinnon, Lindholm down the middle, and I'm going to shit my pants thinking about that team.
Yeah,
and Landeskog is gonna be healthy, and the Avalanche are just probably gonna go from there. And Alex Georgiev is going to be a Conn Smythe winner, and that is the story of the 2023-24 NHL season.
So I agree with you. Like Colorado is the number one spot for me in my mind, where I feel like he's already there. Especially with the Ryan Johansson thing not working out, and like they were hoping that Johansson would be that guy, and like they essentially got him for free. So whatever. But Lindholm going to that team would make a ton of sense. would make them so much more dangerous. And I agree with you that if there is any team that he vaults into, okay, their makeup is way different and they're way scarier with him in the lineup, it's Colorado.
How about Winnipeg? Because Winnipeg has been a surprise team. I think Winnipeg and Vancouver are like the two teams that fall into, like, they probably didn't think they were going to be here this year. Mm-hmm. Well, they are. So do they go for it? And players talk a lot about like rewarding the team, like showing like, hey, we believe in you. Let's go for it. Do you know who the Winnipeg Jets first line center is right now?
First line center?
Yeah.
No.
It's Vlad Nemesnikov.
Okay.
Which is like, could probably use a top 6 center if you are the Jets, correct?
Yeah, you would think so.
So throw them in there. If and it would be, I think, what is they have a first round pick, a man named Chaz Lucius. I would hate to
That's
part
a great name.
with someone with that name,
yeah.
And right wing Mason Appleton. So I'd do that if I were them. Golden Knights also, or I'd say I'd go for Lindholm if I were them. Golden Knights also. The other of the first 3 teams I mentioned that, like, if you add Lindholm to that forward group, they're probably favorites in the West.
I also think that, like, if you're talking
and
about
Eichel's healthy,
if you're talking about a Winnipeg or you're talking about a Dallas, you also have to weigh the value in not only landing Lindholm but taking him away from the other 2 teams in that division that you are potentially staring down the barrel of a gun in terms of a first round playoff matchup against them, like the 2 versus 3. So, like, and even if you're talking about taking him away from a team like Colorado, like, there's value in that too, just based off of, the road that's in front of you as one of those teams. I mean, I think it's most likely that he goes to the West or stays in the West, I suppose, because, like, that just, it feels like there's more pressure in terms of an arms race in the Western Conference than there is in the Eastern Conference.
I definitely agree. Like, think of the teams that are doing really well in the Eastern Conference. Not to say that they're happy to be there, but they're all in the position of, like, we can kind of keep building here while contending. So let's not deplete our resources. Like, even if the Rangers don't add anybody, even if the Bruins don't add anybody, they probably think they have a really good chance this year anyway, because the East is so wide open. I glanced over at the chat, and there was a suggestion made that we do some sort of grab-assy all-star draft thing. Y'all are adorable. You think that we don't have plans to do grab-ass all-star stuff?
We still have 2 more shows
Bless
this week.
you. We still have 2 more shows, and we're going to the all-star game. We've got amazing stuff planned, so please get on the YouTube if you are not there. And if you are thinking of going to the big game in Toronto, I'm going to recommend you use Game Time. This is an open ad read. I'm kidding. It's an incredible product. I love the app. I love the website. Its ease of use is great. It doesn't take a million clicks and going through a million different layers of security, of all these things. Of when you're in, they got you. It's safe. It's easy. You get your tickets quickly. You're not surprised by a bunch of where did this come from? It is my favorite place to score tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHAOS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAOS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Use code CHAOS for $20 off. Peter,
hold on. Well, there's an interesting idea in the chat. What about him going to Washington, given the fact that Kuznetsov's contract is up at the end of the season? I feel like that's
an Islander move.
That's a part of the discussion that doesn't often enter into, like, the trade deadline talks. But you can't rule out possibilities like that either. Where,
let's just get the guy.
Where, like, yeah, right. Where, if you have the extension in mind and you want to go get the guy and you want to get him locked up and keep him as a part of your team's plans moving forward, like, those teams don't enter into the discussion in a public forum, because when you get to the trade deadline, it's always like, which contending teams need to make the move to kind of elevate themselves. But I mean, like, that's an interesting idea too.
JG Pajot, that thing of, like, Yeah, we can go for it this year, but also, like, you know what rocks? Getting good players.
Right, having good players that are going to be part of our team for years.
Let's just do that. It'll be a nice thing for the rest of the season, and also we'll throw money at them. Although, another thing I want to say on the Bruins, don't rule out the Bruins trading for and extending a Swedish player.
That's
what they
true.
do.
That's a good point.
There's a proven track record.
That's true.
Hampus Lindholm.
While I don't know what you're
Named
playing.
Lindholm.
What? Yeah,
We've
right.
busted this thing wide open.
Right.
He's going to Boston.
There's precedent.
Not only do they trade for players named Lindholm and extend them, but the player named Lindholm ends up being Swedish. How about that?
Look at that.
Not all those other guys in the league named Lindholm who aren't Swedish.
A little all-star note. I do want to say Jack Hughes, the report came out yesterday that he is pushing and really, really wants to play at the All-Star game, although he hasn't played for the Devils in quite some time. A lot of discourse I saw on the internet, specifically from Devils fans being like, yo, don't do that. You can't play for us. You want to go play at the All-Star game? My take on this is that if Jack Hughes plays in the All-Star game and that's his first game back in action, I think the Devils should suspend him.
I agree. I think that you owe it to your team. Jack Hughes is not paid by Team McRae or Team Buble or Team McDavid. That's not his contract. I don't remember.
If he wins the skills competition, he could be paid.
I don't remember. And maybe he'll get drafted first like he was by the Devils. But there's not going to be a big ceremony like there was when the Devils drafted him.
He's not going to even get drafted. He's going undrafted.
That's true because he's a captain.
That's right.
Imagine the embarrassment. You rush all the way back, don't even get drafted in the All-Star draft. Crazy.
Undrafted. We have to lean into that. Start that bit over again so we can make a clean take. Say that he should be suspended.
Well, I do think that he should be suspended, but you want to know why. It's because, remember our good friend Alex Ovechkin and how he loves to play for his team, the Washington Capitals, but he doesn't love to play for these fake-ass all-star teams? Guess what happens to him? He gets suspended for one game because he skips playing for the all-star team. So if it's going to work that way, I think it should have to work in reverse. If you want to play for the all-star team, but you don't want to play for your team, you get suspended for a game.
And that is what's in play to reset the story. Jack Hughes doesn't want to play for the Devils. And right now, that's an organization that is throwing fits, trying to figure out what can we do this guy? What can we do with this guy? We've got an unhappy player, a disgruntled player. The league needs to step in, I think. Suspend him for 1 to 2 seasons.
Gary Bettman should call up the Devils and say, listen, this guy doesn't want to play for you. 1-for-1 trade, David Jiricek for Jack Hughes. David Jiricek really does want to play for an NHL team. Doesn't matter which one. He's even willing to play for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So get David Jiricek to the New Jersey Devils. Put him in the lineup. He's happy. Jack Hughes, he can go to Columbus. Maybe he doesn't have to play for them. Columbus doesn't want NHL players, it seems. So they can send him to Cleveland, and he can play. He can not play, and he can just go have his fun at the All-Star game.
I know of another player who was working his way back from an injury and decided, you know what? I don't think I can play for my team right now, but I'll play for the All-Star team. You know who that was? It was Kyrie Irving. And like a year or two ago, he posted some controversial stuff on social media.
Is that next for Jack Hughes?
So I don't know. I don't
Show
know what
us
the pattern
Jack
of
Hughes'
behavior
Amazon
is.
search history.
I don't know what the pattern of behavior will become with the player, but I think that the Devils right now are probably worried about the fate of their organization. Martin Brodeur has long retired. He's not touching this situation. He retired.
I don't know. You could say that Martin Brodeur's fingertips are all over this situation.
No. He left. Brian Jonta fled the scene. He's off playing for Montreal right now. He's showing I'm a good captain. He's on the Canadiens right now. So I think it's a great call. I think the Department of Player Safety needs to weigh in. I think that there's a lot of organizations that should speak on this and make some sort of statement.
It's a dangerous precedent to be set. So, Jack Hughes, maybe you should be ashamed of yourself. Maybe you should think about your decision and the impacts that it has for younger generations.
I think that that's
He just wants to grab ass. Listen, we this podcast works because we're about the hockey and we're about the grab ass. Jack Hughes seems like he's strictly about the grab ass. Only wants to play at the
If he laughs during the All-Star draft, I'm going to begin to cry.
Well,
I'll be so upset.
You know who his celebrity captain is?
Who?
It's Michael Bublé.
It's Michael
Maybe
Bublé.
he's just a huge Bublé fan.
I actually do.
I would respect that.
I think if you go to NHL.com right now,
it's the
main
first thing.
slide
Yeah,
is like Jack Hughes wants to
Bublé.
with like hang out with Michael Bublé.
Look,
That's not a joke.
It literally is. The first thing is fantasy draft. Canucks fan Bublé tuning up for All-Star Thursday with Hughes brothers.
Jack, if you want to go blow off your team to hang out with Michael Bublé, I respect that. I would blow off probably a lot of commitments to hang out with Michael Bublé. He seems incredible.
Can I ask, like, actually, you don't actually give a shit at all, right? Like, do you care?
It's fucking All-Stars.
Yeah.
No.
I think people that are getting that worked up are weirdos.
No, like when you said there was discourse about it, I was like, so there's even like a side? Like this, what could anybody fucking say about it?
So I didn't reveal like what my take was before but I was like, I want to talk about this, and I could see like the disgust in your eyes, and you're like, I guess, sure, whatever. I would not have suggested that we have that conversation if I didn't think that it was like there was a funny take.
For podcasting purposes, I'm like pretty solid at improv, but I was like struggling with this one. I was like thinking, what does somebody even fucking say about this? How could you possibly be upset?
I mean, I can understand why Devils fans are upset. They live in New Jersey and the Devils stink right now. So,
I've been watching The Sopranos.
You could have ended
New Jersey's
after the
awesome.
New Jersey statement.
I know, but what?
I've been watching The Sopranos. New Jersey is awesome.
Phones definitely listen to you because I've been getting flooded with random Sopranos clips on like Facebook and stuff like that, and I've never watched The Sopranos.
You never watched The Sopranos?
You should watch The Sopranos.
What channel was that? Was that an HBO?
HBO.
Yeah. See, I grew up without HBO.
Same.
So I didn't. I never watched Game of
But
Thrones.
I'll tell
either.
you what. There's a cool thing called the internet, and there's HBO Max, which I guess is now just Max, and all those shows still live there.
No,
so you
I know.
Can watch them
I can
whenever
watch
you
them
want.
eventually. I started watching Arrested Development. No, not Arrested Development.
Entourage?
No, Larry David.
Curb Your
Curb
Enthusiasm.
Your Enthusiasm. Yeah.
That's a great show. It's a
That
good
is a
program.
great show.
I'll tell you what, though, it's coming back, and I'm glad it's its final season. I have not wanted new Curb Your Enthusiasm like the last 5 years.
Last season was great.
Last season was better. It wasn't great.
It was very enjoyable.
I think it does a disservice to how great that show was. When I get being excited when it puts out a good episode to be like, fuck yeah, it's back. But like, personally, I don't think it's been back.
Sure,
in
but
a while.
I've felt great about the experience of being able to sit down and watch Curb Your Enthusiasm on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We need
I
to
also
go
think, by the way, the new season of True Detective is very, very divisive and polarizing. I really disliked it after episode 2, and now I'm back on board. Episode 3 was pretty fucking terrifying, and I really enjoyed it.
Real quick before we continue the hockey talk, you saw Godzilla -1?
I did.
What'd you think?
It was not perfect.
Oh, it was so close to it, though.
It was awesome.
It's my favorite monster movie ever.
I would highly recommend seeing Minus Color.
I know.
It was so cool seeing Minus Color. It was definitely the best monster movie that I've seen in a long, long time.
You know who I loved? I loved like I don't know if he's a general or what, but he comes in like 2/3 of the way through the movie and he's like working with them.
Yeah.
And he's like a no-nonsense guy. Fucking love that guy.
It has a lot of like Jaws kind of feel to it. And maybe that's just because they go on a boat.
We need help.
Yeah. And they have like the boys on the boat kind of feel. And it's just a very, very cool. It feels like a love letter to Godzilla.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of love letters, a love letter goes out from our show to David Quinn, Sharks head coach. He will be getting hip replacement surgery over All-Star break. That is look at that young man. He doesn't just hip replacement surgery. That's got to be no fun.
I mean,
he coaches the Sharks. He probably never has fun. I bet he has fun all the time.
I wasn't going there.
I bet he has fun.
You're saying like, look at this young man. He's too young to have hip replacement surgery. I say, look at Brad Marchand. He's got no hips.
Yeah.
He has had both of them replaced.
PHNX's Craig Morgan famously had a hip replacement, specifically so he didn't have to help PHNX move to new offices.
Respect, King.
And so he literally just sat there and watched everyone move.
Also, happy belated birthday to that
Happy
King.
belated birthday. Yep.
He's
It was
like
his birthday yesterday.
You won't get this, but he's like Vito. Remember when Vito was working construction in New Hampshire and she catches him sleeping and he's like, "Oh, I wasn't sleeping. I got bad hips."
I also had no idea that a hip replacement surgery was something that you could just be like doing things again 2 weeks later.
Oh no, I would imagine that you would be out for at least 6 months.
Madman.
Like
Like,
it might as well be an ACL surgery. Like it seemed like something it would take forever to come back from.
I mean,
Modern technology.
I believe you shout out Mike Greer on yesterday's
I did.
podcast.
Mhm.
I want that whole group to stay together in San Jose. I know that when a team finishes towards the bottom of the standings, which looks like San Jose could, like, I really want their.
What do you think's going to happen to them? Like this is what they were supposed to be.
So right.
Nobody's getting fired because of this.
This
season.
isn't Columbus.
I don't know. I'm not saying that that I'm not speculating that they would get fired, but like that happens all the time where they're like, all right, you got 2 years to do this, or you got 3 years to do this, or whatever, and then like a year or two early, a team gets the first overall pick, and they're like, oh, okay, we're going to change everything.
But
I hope
this
the Sharks
is
don't do
like
something
essentially
stupid.
year one
If
of this
they
regime.
fired everyone, I would be forced to make assumptions, and you can imply what those assumptions are. And also, they immediately fall off of the places I want to see Macklin Celebrini go.
Yeah,
because
right.
that's clear incompetence.
This is the plan.
Yes.
Maybe I presented it too negatively. I guess the way I'll say it is I'm very eager and hopeful that there can be a Macklin Celebrini, David Quinn, Mike Greer brain trust and leadership.
That the picture of Mike Greer handing Macklin Celebrini his jersey at the draft is going to be put up on my wall.
Wow.
I don't really know why, other than the fact that I ride for Mike Greer.
What was your phrasing before? I would have no choice but to make assumptions.
Yeah, you can figure out what that implies.
I know what that meant, but that is my favorite sentence I've ever heard, and I hope that you regularly use that. Jokingly.
Yeah, I will. Basically, anytime anything bad happens to a black
beats
player,
the Sharks,
yeah.
What does this say about you?
Colorado
Offside
Avalanche
review. What
racist.
are you saying?
That call doesn't get made against literally any other NHL team.
Who's the whitest team in the NHL? This is dangerous, but who's
The
the
other
whitest?
31?
Yeah, I was gonna say insert any not the Kraken. I'll say that the Kraken have a lot of people of color doing things within the organization. I don't know. That's like literally any of the other 30.
It's a 31-way tie.
You wanna? I'm gonna look this up.
Like I'm just thinking of like basically if you have any player of color, you ought, like Toronto. No, Austin Matthews is Mexican.
I mean, what about the Bruins?
Yeah. No, that's them. It's the Boston Bruins.
I'm trying to look up this stat. I think I could be wrong. I think there's only been one black head coach in NHL history. Is that right?
I have no idea.
I think possibly. I'd have to look this up. It's a chat. Look it up. But I think I saw that. Like,
Did Joel Ward never served as one? Did he? Because I know he's an assistant. But I don't know if he ever was like an interim or anything like that.
I don't believe so.
that's one of those things. Like, this happens at the Oscars sometimes, where like Steve Young gets nominated for something, and they're like, it's like the first Asian man nominated for like an Oscar or something, and you're like, excuse me?
You say Steve? I thought you said Steve Young.
Oh,
I was like, what?
I also heard Steve Young.
Yeah,
and
I think you
was
may have
just like,
accidentally
no,
said
I said
Steve.
I was like, I didn't
Steve
realize
Young.
he was on
Okay.
the Sam
I thought you
Howell
said
type
Steve
beat.
Young, and I was like, wait, what? Am I missing something?
Steve Young. No, Bruins I would not say are the whitest team.
Currently?
Yeah.
I would argue that they are.
They are like old white guys.
And they're also just like being in Boston. Monty's just like a white guy, a bald white guy. It's pretty white.
Yeah. Did have not to do the like, hey, some of my
But in the NHL, you can kind of do
not
that.
not to do like the hey, some of my most recent star players are black.
But like Buffalo was eliminated because they have Jordan Greenway, and that's like the bar right now.
Right. Okay. So I believe
their captain is black.
I believe the
right?
chat here.
Is Kyle Okposo black?
Yeah. True.
only one black head coach in the NHL.
Yeah.
Is Dirk Graham.
I know that BR Open Ice put out a thing the other day that was just like these assistants should be the next ones to get their first head coaching opportunity, and one of them was Joel Ward, and then
Wait. Was this exclusively about
No.
black? I was gonna say I don't like the phrasing of like these ones.
These ones. There was also I can't remember her name, but there was also like they just interestingly like the first two were like a woman and a black man, and then just all white guys, and I was just like. I see what you're doing here.
Speaking of things that are white, the Ducks are having Offspring night.
Yes. So we're thinking of going to a
What
Ducks
a transition,
game.
by the way.
Great job. Well, we're thinking of going to a Ducks game, and Sean saw a tweet yesterday. He was like, "Oh, it's Offspring night that night," and I was like, "Wait, like the Offspring?" It's part of a partnership between the Ducks and the Offspring for. I love this so much. The 30th anniversary of the Ducks and the 30th anniversary of the Offspring's album Smash. To which you think like, oh, it's both of their 30th anniversaries. No, Smash is like the Offspring's third album. They'd been like, this is like the Offspring's like 38th anniversary or something. There's really no connection to the anniversary thing. They just kind of shoehorned that in there. But there is a partnership between the team and the band for this season, Dexter Holland and the boys. The anniversary will include Come Out and Play Night with the Offspring on Friday, February 9th, when the Ducks face off against the Edmonton Oilers. This would be, we'd go to this game if it's the potential record-breaking night. The special night named after the Offspring's hit and a Ducks' favorite pump-up song will include appearances from the Offspring band members, limited edition Brewery X beer cans, and exclusive Offspring X Ducks co-branded merchandise. As part of the special partnership, fans will receive exclusive perks and rewards during Friday night games at Honda Center. Love that. I would buy as somebody who owns a Grateful Dead Ducks shirt, I would buy the shit out of some Offspring Ducks merch.
Yeah, I think that like anything that is a weird collab just kind of scratches an itch for me, because in 3 years, in 6 months, we're going to be like, remember when the Ducks did a fucking night with the Offspring and there's weird merch that came out of it? That rules.
I mean, I didn't even know who the Offspring were. When I first read...
That's crazy to me.
I obviously, once you showed me some of the music and I knew the songs.
I have no choice but to make assumptions, Sean.
Yeah, right.
You can make all these you want. At first I thought it was like they said like Anaheim come out and play featuring the Offspring, and I'm like, this is a really weird way to say kids night. I thought it was like when the Ducks had the mini Hunter, or the Oilers had mini Hunter, and it was like next generation night or whatever the hell it was. I thought they were calling kids the Offspring, and I was like, that's so weird. Now I know.
So somebody in the chat
bring
notes,
your kids that have been conceived at Anaheim Ducks games to this game. They get in for free if they were conceived at Honda Center.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat notes that it's that album's 30th anniversary this year. Correct, but it's not like their first album or their biggest album. It's a popular album from them or whatever. I'm just saying, like, it's not.
They're kind of shoehorning the reason.
Yeah, right. You know what they're doing? They're doing the Jersey
thing.
explanation.
They wanted to have the Offspring, and they figured out a reason afterwards.
You wanted to hang out with the Offspring for a night and make some cool merch. Like
Orange County band.
That's all you got to do.
That's fine. Yeah, I hope though that actually like the merch is specific to the album Smash. That would be even better. Just super specific Anaheim Ducks, Disney stuff. And then for a lot of people saying like, hey, I didn't know what the Offspring are. Obviously, if you're of a certain age, I'm not the type to judge for, you don't know this band or whatever. But folks, you definitely know Offspring songs.
Yeah, like I said, you will know if you play some of their music. You will definitely have heard the song.
Pretty fly for a white guy?
Oh, yeah. What are some team/band partnerships you want? Do you have any?
Definitely not the Sharks and Metallica, because they hit that well up so often. But that's kind of why I like the Ducks and the Offspring, because I didn't know that the Offspring were like super OC. I didn't realize that they like were kind of quote unquote in bed with the Ducks. So like I like these sort of random partnerships. I don't have any off the top of my head that like, because if they're off the top of my head, I kind of don't want them.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I have a couple that are based in a very specific set of knowledge. Like I mentioned off air, Jimmy Eat World and the Arizona Coyotes. They're a Phoenix-based band, and they are sports guys. And then the Goo Goo Dolls and the Buffalo Sabres.
I did know that one.
Because they're from Buffalo.
Mhm.
And also, like RIP, but the Tragically Hip and basically any Canadian hockey team or the Buffalo Sabres because they're also.
I didn't participate in the Tragically Hip
I was
stuff,
never a Tragically Hip guy.
but
Everyone
I
there
love how much I feel this way about baseball nerds with Cooperstown. I love how much Canadian people love the Tragically Hip. Like I love your love. I celebrate your celebration kind of thing.
I thought
even though like the Tragically Hip didn't mean anything to me.
I thought you were gonna say I love that with like baseball fans and Bruce Springsteen.
No, I was kind of scared off of Bruce Springsteen because I found that thing so crazy and daunting, and then I just ignored it. Went to a Springsteen concert, fucking had the best time of my life. Loved it. What was I doing all those years?
I typically get annoyed when Canadians latch on to they're Canadian, like they belong to us, like, and they're so proud of the Canadian thing. But like the Tragically Hip thing actually does make me feel like you should be proud.
You know who does that, and it'll lead to this next collab that I want. Armenians do that huge. They'll be like, and I can say this as an Armenian. They'll be like, oh, do you know that this person has the smallest connection to Armenia? They're good in my book. So I want the Kings and System of a Down to do some sort of partnership, if they haven't already, because they always, even when the Kings weren't good, System of a Down was always like riding for the Kings and wearing Kings stuff. Those, you remember the purple and black jerseys they had with it almost looked like Aztec kind of stuff.
It was like essentially a crest.
Yeah,
with like
and had the sticks. Yeah. So
those jerseys sucked, by the way.
That era of the Kings,
So bad.
System of a Down was all over that.
Yep.
So I'd like that.
I mean, I'm fully ready for the San Jose Sharks to lean into being the blackest team in hockey and just have like E40 out there.
Oh,
just
shit.
like go lean full in Bay Area, just be black as shit. I'm here for it.
That would be amazing.
I also love the idea of just like some nice little family being like, let's go to a hockey game, and all of a sudden like, bitch. I know that's too short. I know that's too short, but still.
Here's the thing though. Like, I don't think of going to a hockey game as like some nice little family thing. Like, if you're at a hockey game, this is gonna be dangerous. Like, when I go to a hockey game and I buy hockey tickets, I'm spending so much money on them. I'm an asshole. Or I'm acting like a rich asshole.
I just like of the belief that if you buy tickets to a sporting event and you bring your kids and you see some shit that you like necessarily didn't bargain for, that's the inherent risk.
Yeah,
because sports get crazy. They're unpredictable. Emotions are wild. It's kind of
it depends.
And if like you're bringing your kids to a sporting event, you're kind of like
you're asking for
you're
it a little
paving
bit.
the way for them to be a sports fan, and that's part of being.
Do you
a sports
remember the
fan.
thing though? This like. I remember stayed off Twitter for this because I was like, I'm going to be called a boomer or I'm going to be called whatever. But there was somebody at a hockey game. They were like on the glass in the front row, standing up, dancing the whole game, like twerking the whole, like shaking that ass for Drake, doing the whole thing. Yeah. And there was all this discourse of like, don't tell her to sit down. Don't tell her blah, blah. I was like, if you're in the second row,
well, that's
there's a difference. There's a difference between being like a sports fan and swearing and shit, and then just being an asshole.
Right. So like
that's
that
not
person
part of the
is
handbook.
being an asshole.
Yeah.
That's not part of the handbook. Right. That's kind of like an outlying behavior.
But if someone's like, "Fuck you, ref, you suck," and you're like, "Please don't swear next to my kid," then the parent's the asshole because you brought them to a sporting event. And that's like unless you're like if I'm at a sporting event and I know there's kids around me, I'm gonna try to be like not a dick, but I'm also there for the hockey game.
Right.
Like, if something happens, I'm going to get upset.
I'm not going to allow like you wanting to protect your kid from allowing me to have like my best time.
Yeah.
And that's not like I'm going to go out of my way to be an asshole, but I'm going to enjoy it in the way that I want to enjoy it.
I enjoyed at the Sabres Bruins game when Sean was wearing his Hasek jersey. There was a woman next to me wearing a Sabres jersey. And you guys were cheering when the Sabres scored, and the guy behind us was like, "Hey, are you guys from Buffalo? Because like then it's okay. And the woman was like, nobody would be wearing a Sabres jersey if they like we would not be choosing to root for the Sabres. I can fucking promise you. We are stuck with this.
Speaking of collabs that would make parents be like, what the hell is this now? The Nashville Predators and Diarrhea Planet.
That's a good one.
Diarrhea Planet too is like has strong hockey Twitter connections, and they absolutely rule. They have great merch. They put on an incredible show. So Diarrhea Planet playing like a Nashville Predators game. I've wanted the Predators to use a Diarrhea Planet song for their goal song for so long. They are a Nashville through and through band, and with the hockey Twitter ties, it just makes too much sense. I can't believe the Preds haven't done anything with it.
You know who would fuck up the old people that would get them real pissed is St. Louis natives 100 Gex.
Oh my God.
Them and the Blues fans would lose their mind.
Holy shit. It's just that they all want to do like Gloria, Laura Branigan shit. And it's like, hyper pop motherfuckers.
Crazy. And whatever.
And like 100 Gex has ties to the hockey world too with the NHL soundtrack. That's right.
Oh, dude. Yeah. So 100 Gex strikes me as extremely hot. Like I think 100 Gex is the closest thing to Ween today's world has. And they're like indirectly hockey-ish. 100 Gex strikes me as very hockey.
They strike me as very new age hockey.
Like, yes, right.
Like they don't like
the NHL video game, that demographic.
They like the Michigan. They don't like fighting.
Yeah. No, I feel like they're like me. I love fighting. They're embracing the chaos of hockey.
Okay, here are three that I really want. Canadians doing Celine Dion night would be
insane. Yeah,
I would spend the.
Is she in Montreal?
I mean, she's probably.
Okay.
I would spend the like $3,000 for whatever, like the get in for that game would probably be like $3,000. But if you told me that waiting on my seat was a sick ass Canadians fucking Celine Dion shirt, XL for everybody, I am all over that. That would rule. I really want the Red Wings to have, I mean, Red Wings, you got to think. Tons of options. Eminem. Don't want a Kid Rock night.
Make it weird and just do like Big Sean night.
So I want Smokey Robinson night because Smokey is a legend. His old ass is getting dumb. And I would love for them to bring Smokey Robinson out to center ice for like, you guys know like the Chinooka video? Oh my God. Sean, have you seen that?
I don't know what that is. I don't know.
Somebody ordered a Smokey Robinson cameo for Hanukkah for somebody. And Smokey Robinson did not know what Hanukkah was, struggled mightily to say it. And he was like, hello. Let's say it was for Sean. He was like, hey, Sean, happy Chinooka.
I don't know what that is. They definitely gave him the Hanukkah spelling with the CH.
Yeah.
And he was just like,
maybe
I've
he just
never
was
seen
not
this before.
aware of that it was spelled that way sometimes.
I mean, I love, again, like if you give me a Smokey Robinson Red Wings shirt, oh my God.
Give me a Detroit and Detroiters night.
Oh, I mean, Tim Robinson night would be amazing. It's probably passed because they're too big now. But
no,
like,
they go to the Lions.
No. I'm saying like if the Lions I'm saying the Lions are too big and like too relevant to have like Tim Robinson t-shirts on the seats. It's just a little too grab-assy, but that would be amazing. Number one, though, for me, the number one collaboration, and I'm not doing this as a homer, there is a crazy lack of Boston Bruins Aerosmith synergy. How the fuck is there not an Aerosmith night every year?
I feel like
Loving an elevator.
I feel like Aerosmith doesn't really like get the Boston tie anymore.
Why?
I don't know.
Why aren't they doing Patriots games? Why aren't they doing Red Sox? I mean, I know why they cost too much money for the Red Sox, but
I wouldn't be surprised if Steven Tyler just had no interest in doing that stuff anymore.
I was going to say, isn't Steven Tyler kind of not really a good person?
Oh, he might not be super duper in favor.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily. I don't think a lot of people are trying to associate with Steven Tyler right now.
Is A not for Aerosmith, but possibly allegations? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's. I mean, I've heard.
Fine, get Joe Perry out there, man.
When I was in high school, I worked at the front desk of a gym that also had like a really nice massage section.
You told me this.
And once a week, Steven Tyler would come and get like a 90-minute massage, would check in at the front desk, and he would always take a limousine to the gym and take a limousine,
That's
get
the
out.
most rock star shit ever.
It really is.
crazy.
And he-
Smart. Your car doesn't smell like sweat because even if you shower at the gym, after your car's still.
He's not working out. He's literally just going and getting a massage and then leaving.
Love that.
And he like dressed like a rock star, showed up in the limousine.
The
once
Bruins
a week.
need him.
My
Once a
thing
week.
is if you're paying to have a limo take you to somewhere to get a massage, just pay a masseuse to come to your house.
Maybe
That's
it is
crazy
kind
to
of
me.
kind of wild.
That's a crazy move.
Maybe he's trying to get his steps in.
I
Just walking up
walk
to the
around your
limousine.
house.
Last thing, we saw that Kristen Jishik has secured an NFL licensing deal. She, if you do not know, has gained more than 800,000 Instagram followers over the last 2 weeks. She made the Travis Kelce jacket for Taylor Swift. She made the Aiden Hutchinson jacket for Taylor Lautner. Basically, everyone who's anyone is getting cool ass jackets made by Kristen Jishik, who is way cooler than
Use check.
Use check.
I was gonna
sorry.
say
Yeah,
like,
his-
that doesn't sound
The
right.
the
I'm
San
confused.
Francisco 49ers.
Yeah,
fullback.
use check. I'm sorry. I was reading it like Jishik, who is the like Czech Santa Claus. That's my bad.
I feel like
That's
like
Krampus.
No, Jishik.
Krampus
okay.
is
No,
German.
I was just fucking with you.
David
but
Krejci told me about him one time. He sounds rad.
the Czech Santa Claus.
Jishik,
Dude,
yeah.
the
Does he
further
have, like,
east
a-
you get in Europe, the crazier Santa Clauses get.
Yo, it's like a
Really?
lot of shit with like
Yeah.
No
candies
way.
and like
And, like,
fucking socks and
and then sometimes like eating children.
What?
Yeah, no.
Are you sure that's not Krampus?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
Okay.
you get like the Christmas traditions in some parts of Europe are pretty fucking crazy.
well,
I want to hear like fucked up variations of Santa Claus. That would be a great study.
Well, this Christian use check thing has been universally, I think, accepted. No one's like, oh, stupid. Now football's more about Those are the coolest jackets I've ever seen in my life. They all look amazing. You showed me that now more and more people, and I know that she didn't invent this sort of thing, but it's becoming popular on TikTok for people to make them. Somebody made a Sidney Crosby puffer jacket that is absolutely incredible. Sean, do you have that?
Yeah.
Sidney-
So I wasn't like super crazy about the Travis Kelce one and even like the Aiden Hutchinson one, but this Sidney Crosby one is the hottest thing I've ever seen, and it comes from a person on TikTok. I believe her name is Ryan E. Platt or Ryan Aplatt. I don't know, but sorry if
Nepo baby, Ben Platt.
That's right. But has a bunch of videos of the making of this jacket from an actual jersey, and it's fascinating. It looks incredible. I would absolutely buy the hell out of any of those jackets.
Somebody
At
in the chat-
Ryan E. Platt.
Somebody in the chat said DJ Red use check like Chinooka. I'm on my Smokey Robinson shit. That would be great if we ever mispronounce something. From now on, be like, sorry, it's not my fault. Smokey Robinson told me how to say it.
I smoked it.
I smoked it. Who would you get for one of those puffer jackets?
Probably at this point, recency bias, maybe Nathan McKinnon. Like I'm on my Nathan McKinnon shit this year. I've been on my Nathan McKinnon shit for years, but it really does feel like the golden age of Nathan McKinnon right now. The Avalanche jersey isn't amazing for it. The first thing that jumped to mind was you need one for Zach Hyman, because the Oilers jersey as a puffer jacket would look amazing.
So that's like the blue, like the normal blue.
You need
and
vibrant
orange.
colors, I think, for the puffer jacket, but like that as a Hyman jersey, maybe that could be your Stuart Skinner jersey.
Yeah, I mean, the Stuart Skinner jersey is happening at some point, by the way, as I try to budget stuff for the upcoming Pro Shop Wars we're going to do. We're in so much financial trouble. We can't ask you for money because we don't have a Patreon or anything. I guess you just say subscribe everywhere you can so other people can give us money so we can afford the crazy amount of jerseys and shit that we're getting.
I had an idea that next year we should do a nude calendar for the holiday season in which we are trying to fund us getting clothes.
Yeah.
So we're fully nude for the Christmas calendar. We'll sell those, and that'll build up our clothes fund for the 2025 calendar year, and then we can just buy all the jerseys from the proceeds.
Not to get too in the weeds, but I don't know much about OnlyFans. I know that there was a period where maybe people were judging it. I never did because I don't judge that sort of thing. What if we just did an OnlyFans? And that way we're getting those monthly hits.
There's plenty of people who but the purpose of OnlyFans originally was never supposed to be porn. They wanted it to be
content creation
stuff like this.
It's like most things with the internet that it just eventually became sex or porn.
But porn?
Also, I don't want to get off this conversation. I just have crazy Santa information that I looked up and have been reminded of.
Okay.
Are you at all aware with what happens in Christmas or at Christmas in the Netherlands?
No.
Oh boy. So they have Sinterklaas, who apparently is like a Santa type figure who comes from Spain for some reason and brings gifts. He has a sidekick.
Oh boy. Not a good sign.
No, it's not. His name is Black Peter.
What?
Yo, time out. Nickname tomorrow.
Yes. He has an official
Tune
name
into the
in
first
Dutch.
15 seconds of tomorrow's episode, where if you don't have context,
Oh my
you will
God.
be offended.
Yeah, he has an
He showed up
actual
in black name.
an actual Dutch nickname. But that's the thing. There's not a whole lot of black people naturally in the Netherlands. So it involves a white person, blackface head to toe, walking around. The point of Black Peter is he's like the anti-Santa. So Santa comes around and brings gifts to the good kids. If you've been naughty, Black Peter grabs you up and stuffs you in his sack. Because he
Kidnapping?
he kidnaps the bad kids.
So I don't know why I was kind of rooting for. I was hoping you were gonna be like, and if you're naughty, Black Peter kicks your ass.
He,
I was gonna be like,
he kidnaps you.
oh my God.
He just steals children.
At least, so here's the thing. At least the character in blackface, who's like the sidekick here, is doing bad things. Like, I think it would be like kidnapping children.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the implication there is we're going to put this white person in blackface, and the black person gets to do the bad stuff.
Right. I think yes. It's
yeah, fair point. Okay,
I get what you're saying, but yeah, no, I don't think that's the way they were trying to go about it.
I just don't want them to paint this person in a positive light.
I get what you're saying. Because if they make Santa a white person in blackface, then it's like glorifying blackface. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like it's like Tony Soprano, where like you want him to be like. People are like, I don't really know if I can root for him. It's like you're not supposed to. He's a bad guy.
No. I get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's there. Also, why does their Santa come from Spain? Like that's like to the Dutch, they're like, Spain is cool as shit. I guess that's as far as they can get. Like, he travels like 2 hours by train.
Well, then in America, we should be like, and Santa Claus, you know where Santa Claus lives? The North Pole. No, he lives in Disney World. Like, what?
No, he lives at North Pole, Indiana.
Yeah. It would be very funny if there was like a restriction on how far away like your country's Santa can live. Like so that. It's like he can only live.
He needs to get there by train.
A maximum of 100 miles away.
I'm telling you, been meaning to do this, but at the end of every week, we need to take the Mike Felger clip of after they're done grab-assing about stupid stuff that they talk about hockey, and then cut to the most grab-assy thing we did. We have to cut to Sean telling us about Black Peter.
Yes. I mean, I really do believe we didn't do it last week. I want to start doing this week in grab ass. Or like this week, you said this week in hockey. I feel like this week in grab ass is better, but we can discuss it.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I did pitch it as this week in hockey.
Yeah,
dude. There's just Europe is fucked. Spain has a person called the Man of Noses, and I'm going to read this verbatim. The Man of Noses, who grows a new nose on his face each day of the year. However, he only leaves his home on January 1st, the only day of the year when he has a single nose, making him hard to identify.
So, I mean,
Spain, what the fuck?
you said the man who keeps growing noses. I was Drewski.
But you can only leave on January 1st because that's the only day you have a single nose.
What
the fuck does that? What is that?
That is so stupid.
It's the dumbest shit ever.
That dude must love cocaine, though.
Oh,
Imagine having like 6 noses and just sucking that
I would
shit up.
dedicate one to just that. But you got to use them for different things at that point.
That's like, I wish I had more hands so I could give it more thumbs down. I wish I had more noses. So I don't know, like cocaine and stuff probably. Okay, well, this has been What Chaos Across. We never shout out All City. After an episode like this, we should. All City.
The people responsible for this.
ALLCITY Network. Thank you, All City, for writing this show, for keeping Sean fed with the stats. They were just sending him tons of copy. Make sure you mention.
This was Brandon Spano specifically feeding me.
Yeah.
Tell them about Black Peter. He said.
There was an internal memo sent out. Must be discussed.
A Slack message.
Must be read verbatim.
Like an
Call to action.
Yeah.
Black Peter.
All right, you goofballs. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.